a woman who was the first to hold a prestigious role as president of her country. And she completely embodies the spirit of progress and resilience. She is also a distinguished leader, obviously, but most importantly, she is a trailblazer in global diplomacy. Ladies, she is an example of what is possible and what should be possible in our era. Without much ado, her podium has been set. Please give a warm WPL welcome to the President of the Federal Democratic Republic of Ethiopia, Her Excellency Sahle-Work Zewde. Please rise to welcome Her Excellency to share her keynote.
Thank you, WPL leadership, the President of the Board, for your invitation. I'm happy to be here in Athens today to attend the 2024 WPL Summit. Before delivering my statement, I would like to congratulate Greece and the Greeks in general for having, for the first time in their history, a woman president. This is something, a very big achievement, and really congratulations for this. The choice of the topic is not only opportune, but very much timely, and I will mention a few reasons for that. One, there is no better place, as Silvana has said, to talk about democracy than Greece, the ancient Greece where democracy was born, where an all-out revolt led to a revolutionary new way on how to run a society. This is indeed Greece's legacy to the world. Second, the current narrative that we are in an era of democratic backsliding with its adverse consequences on the rights on women is very clear. The double standard, including on the very definition of democracy, this is also one of the issues. We all know in this room and beyond, when democracy is under threat, it will have a negative impact on women. Third, this conversation is taking place at a time when half of the world population is expected to go to polls in 64 countries, what some call a record year for elections. But holding elections alone doesn't make it free and fair. Elections is one of the important aspects of democracy, and it is really important for the simple reason that in any given country, women constitute the majority of the electorate. This is a fact. I have been involved in elections as observer, as a leader of electoral missions. And where I have been, this is what we have seen. Women waking up early in the morning, carrying a baby on her back, the one in the front, and pulling one, going to vote before going back home and cater for the family. We are the majority of electors. So the logical conclusion in view of the fact that only few men make it to the top position, we are the one contributing in a substantive manner in bringing men to power. We are those voting. So things have to change if we want women in a higher position. In many situations, we have seen elections becoming a source of conflict when it should have been a process by which you elect a new person or give another term to the other. But unfortunately, they are also a source of conflict. That parliaments are too often not representative of the society as well as political forces, and that there is a need, which is not new, to introduce a proportional representation in order to make democracy alive in our respective parliaments, senates, and different assemblies. This has to be done. It's not only because we have elections and we have brought a substantive number of people within parliaments. If it doesn't reflect the reality on the ground, a proportional representation is required. And that helps in a great deal for democracy to take root. There is a pressing need for women to be at the table of power when she can decide, because her participation is a fundamental prerequisite for gender equality and indeed genuine democracy. This has to be really something we have to achieve, because she will give higher attention, and it has been proven, to women issues that she cannot bypass. For women to be candidates to political positions, joining or creating themselves political parties, but most of the time they have not been successful because the mentality has not changed. We will rather support a male, which gives more confidence, than a woman who is just starting. But if we don't support them when they start doing this, we will be stagnating in terms of democracy. Concrete actions are needed by at least talking about it and really acting. It has to be part of our daily conversation. Women should be leading the change. We should change the nature of power and not power changing the nature of women. I think this is very powerful. It has been said in the 90s, and I think it's still valid in the 21st century. So this has to be clear in our mind. We cannot afford of not doing something. It will not come up out of the blues. We have so much to gain, but definitely we're lagging behind. It's time to rise up to our expectation. Because we all know in this room that in spite of progress, equality between people, between women and men, sometimes it seems to be an unreachable goal. But we have to all strive to it. Coming from Africa, I cannot conclude my statements without saying a few things about what is happening on our continent. Ideals, goals, core values of democracy are to be respected and implemented throughout the world, and Africa is no exception to that. In Africa, we have the goals for the Africa we want with our program for 2063. We have the global SDGs, as DSG Amina just mentioned. But democracy is also stagnating, if not backsliding. Some would say maybe it's the model of democracy that has been imposed on us, which might be the problem. But as I said, the core values are values universally accepted that applies to us as well. So in Africa, there is a lot to do because nowadays we see many unconstitutional changes of government, different ways of dealing with our problems. I think that we need to go to the core of the issue to see the root causes for that and address it instead of cosmetic changes or measures that has applied somewhere might not fit in for the African context to be pushed and imposed on them. I think it's very important because this is a young continent. The median age is 19, a rich continent, but also the poorest of the poor. We have to do something for it to change. So women in Africa has to be also empowered so that we are all in this together. I thought I have to mention this because it's lagging, it's missing. We really need to do that. It's a continent of the future. In any case, it has been agreed. It's young. If it stands on its 2 feet, I think the world will be another place. I have followed with interest the first panel, and really thank you for the important topics that this gathering will be discussing. Representation definitely matters, but I agree with what they said. It's not an end in itself. We have to be extremely careful We cannot be the tree hiding the forest, because we are here. The fact that I'm standing in front of you, it's because I have been given this opportunity. But if I don't open the door for other women to go through, it will be just a number. For some of male, to tick boxes to say, you know what, we have done X, Y, Z, and we are politically correct. No, it goes beyond that. So we'll have to. We need to have more women in power. That's why I came here and said, whoa, Greece has a female president, and some, but we are just few in the world, and few with effective political power. So if we do this, the impact will be far bigger than we can imagine. We'll bring not only professionalism as women, but also compassion, empathy, collaboration, cooperation, because she would have the tendency to check if what she does is indeed correct, but not coming to say, I know what you want, and imposing it on you, that we see very often. I'm happy to see that later in the day, there will be a panel to discuss violence against women, and more specifically in politics. It is very important. And the panelists have said it, the different attacks, the harassments, and so on that we all go through is increasing by the day, because we have this social media in the hands of everybody and attacking everyone, and giving a picture of you which is not the reality. Sometimes it can be on the good side, but most of the time it's not. So violence against women in general has to be really addressed. The good news that I would like to bring to you from Africa is that the last summit of the African Union, which was held, as you know, in Addis Ababa, which is the seat of the African Union, has adopted the drafting of a convention on violence against women, all forms of violence. So experts are in the process of, it's a long fight, but it has made its way through until to the top, to the summit. They have accepted it. Experts are in the process of drafting this convention, and hopefully it will be signed next February when the leaders meet in Addis Ababa. It is important for this continent, as I said, a young continent, to have this legislation in place for a woman in Africa to be able to go up the ladder and not be frustrated with harassment, psychological pressure, and so on and so forth. For this will be good for women who fight in silence all kind of violence that they experience. So we're really looking forward to this convention. I think it's very important globally to have this kind of a forum, and WPL is doing well in bringing women from across the world, from different walks of life. Sometimes you don't know how to handle when there is a sitting president in the room, and I've been explaining to others, but we are all women. We need to be sitting together. It's not being extracted from that group and being put in a palace. No, we are in this together. And I really would like to admire the many dynamic women leaders that I have seen in this country, ministers and, of course, the president. So together, we can lift the many barriers we have in front of us. The fight has started long ago. It has to continue. We're not there yet. But if not together, we will not move anywhere. I learn a lot from the Philippines, from Zimbabwe, from wherever, because at the end of the day, what we say is the same thing. There are barriers that we have to lift. And don't forget that the main thing is also for a woman to stand up for another woman. Otherwise, the loopholes would be wide. And let me tell you, we see it every day. I have seen it today in this room. We are not even considerate for another woman. We have to be extremely careful that power do not change the nature of a woman, as I told you. We have to be genuine to what we are, because we have a lot to do. We have to be role models. We have to support. In my own country, more than 80% of women, which constitute like 60 million of our population, are still rural and so on. We have to lift up all this huge potential that we have. So if we are not supporting one another, we will not get there. Please let us be together. We do not lose hope. The future is bright. The glass is half full. Let's fill it. Thank you very much.